Am I the a-hole for not sharing my inheritance? So, bit of a background. I was a big oops. My bio mom was a wealthy woman who apparently never wanted marriage or kids. She met my dad at a work event, same job type, different locations, not sharing specifics for anonymity, and they started seeing each other casually for a few months. And then boom! Her pill, the rubber, and a plan B all failed to stop me from existing. My mother was going to abort me, but my father begged her not to because he was actually married and was told that his wife only had like a 1% chance of ever carrying a baby to term. She agreed only on the stipulation that she can give me up. No visitation, no parenting, nothing but child support. And he and his wife reached an agreement and took me under the ruse she'd raise me as her biological daughter. Needless to say, I never met my bio mom, but it doesn't get any better for me from there. My stepmom actually ended up having a miracle about a year after I was born. A son. My brother has never treated me any different, and I love him dearly, but I could always tell I was never my parents' priority. I more or less just kind of existed to be seen, never heard or really acknowledged unless it was something for the family. When I turned 13, I got the opportunity to meet my bio grandma, mom's mom. She had no idea I existed and petitioned for visitation. I loved it so much with her that I asked if I could live with her. My dad and stepmom seemed happy to be rid of me and accepted. My bio mom never visited her mom anyway, a rift over her not settling down and having kids. Well, that was 6 years ago. My bio mom just died a month ago and surprisingly left everything she owned to me, with the stipulation that I go to school for business and better myself according to her letter that the lawyer and trustee told me about. This is life-changing money. I'm talking I went from lowest middle class, grandma left everything to me, but it wasn't a lot, just a house and a couple thousand, to a multi-millionaire. Now, my dad and stepmom are on my case to share the money. I have no idea how they found out as grandma passed last year, right after I graduated. It was her dream to see me graduate and she had been sick for a few years. And the only person I talked to is my brother, but I never even told him. Apparently, they don't have the money to send him to an Ivy League school like they've always wanted. But money is no longer an object for me. I know they raised me for 13 years, but this money could really change my life. Am I the a-hole if I don't share it? Now for the top comments. Don't give them money. Maybe set something up with a lawyer like a trust for your brother to use for only school. This way money can't be withdrawn from it. They have proven they only want the money, not the a-hole. This is a reasonable thing to do. Despite the parents treating her indifferently, her brother sounds like he was a good brother. So I can understand if she wants to help him, but with rules in place that make sure it's only him that benefits. It's still a huge favor on Opie's part. Opie's not a-hole in any way, shape or form. Not a-hole. Clearly you weren't a priority until it benefited them. They let you go without thinking twice. Keep the money and do with it as your grandman you would have wanted to. Seems your bio mom showed up for you in ways the family that was physically there didn't. Yes, yes, yes. Opie, you weren't a priority until you had something they wanted to take. If you want to help your brother, contact a lawyer who can help you set up a trust account that pays only for his university tuition, so it cannot be withdrawn by your dad and stepmom, and your brother cannot be pressured to give them anything, etc. Not a-hole. They should have treated you better, and now they're facing the same fate as Cinderella's family did in the classic fairy tale. You reap what you sow. Please hire a financial advisor. You want someone who can help maintain the money, as well as help avoid tax situations you've never had to deal with before. Also, tell your parents to kick rocks. When your brother graduates, if you want to pay off whatever loans he has, you can make that decision for yourself based on the relationship you have with him. But don't tell him or these jerks it's even the remotest option. They sound like the kind of people who will never leave you alone if they think they can use you for their own ends. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for allowing my stepson to call me dad? My wife, 39 female, and I, 36 male, got married and moved in together last year after 3 years of dating. She has a son, 15 male, with her ex-husband, 42 male. He was never abusive to any of them, but he used to be extremely cold, emotionally distant, and easily irritable. So my wife divorced him when the kid was 8. Since then, he has constantly tried to be involved in his life, but the child doesn't like him at all. He tries to make a man out of him, but his son is a huge softie, which is obviously an inherent incompatibility. He views his dad's approach as him not being accepting of who he is. I met the kiddo when he was 12. I had already been dating my wife for a year at that point, and we both knew that things were going to get serious, so it was the right time. I instantly felt a connection to him, and my paternal instincts spiked up. I'm sterile and I love children, which is an unfortunate combination. From that moment on, I started spending as much time with him as possible. The ex-husband really hated this and accused me of trying to steal his son. After we all moved in together, I started taking care of him full-time basically, because I work from home. I cook him breakfast in the morning, I pack him lunch, I drop and pick him off from school, I help him with his homework. We play video games together, work out, do sports, watch movies, listen to music, go on trips, etc. He talks with me about anything. I love him so much, and I consider him my own son. This week, he came to me crying after a meeting with his dad. The father apparently started trash-talking me and telling him things such as, he's not your real dad. He's just a stranger. He's only being nice to you to get closer to your mom. He'll never see you as his own child, etc. The poor kid actually defended me in front of his dad. I hugged him tight and assured him that I love him more than anything, and that he is definitely my son. He calmed down in the end and let me know that from now on, he wants to call me dad publicly and in front of everyone. He called me by my first name before, because I'm his male role model and real dad, and that he loves, respects, and admires me a lot. I told him okay, whatever he feels the most comfortable with. My wife's ex-husband called me yesterday to berate me for allowing this to happen, saying that because of me he'll never be able to rebuild the relationship with his son now, and that I crossed some huge boundaries and I should be ashamed of myself for that. Not the a-hole, at all. Tell him to buzz off. If his son wants to call you dad, it's really nothing to do with anyone but the kid. I feel like he was hoping to emotionally isolate son until he was desperate enough to mimic the emotional language of the dad. When Opie stepped up and was kind and also loving and accepting, that plan was completely wrecked. Without a doubt. He clearly didn't account for the fact that teenagers always do the exact opposite of what you want them to do. Not stay home. The divorce happened 4 years before you met the kid, so it's not like you swooped in while things were getting settled to just take over as dad. Somehow, Dad didn't bother bonding properly with his kid during that time. That's his own fault. You have a teenage son who likes you. Good job, mate. He probably didn't bond properly from the very beginning. So the kid never aspired to be like his bio dad. At puberty, he started becoming his own man, while bio dad, who probably thought that it was his wife's job to take care of the kid while he was little, decided that now it was time to teach him to be a man, in his own image. Except that around that time, the kid met Opie and saw in him a man he wanted to grow up to be like, not one he had to grow up to be like. Some men raised old-fashioned really believe that a child will magically love someone just because they're biologically related. My dad left us before my sister was even born, and decided to come back when I was 12 and she was 10. He was really surprised when we didn't immediately just adore him and try to be like him. Kept talking crap about our grandfather who was a real father figure in our lives. Now that we are adults, my sister went no contact and I speak to him a couple of times per year mostly out of pity. Not stay home. Way to go, Opie. In a very real sense, you are his dad, which is so much more than biological progenitor. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to let my daughter and her husband move into my son's room while he's being hospitalized? I'm widow with 2 children, Lillian 24 and Adam 17. After my husband's death, we sold the house, gave Lillian her part of the inheritance, and then put Adam's inheritance money towards his college fund. Adam and I now live in a 2-bedroom apartment. 2 months ago, Lillian's husband blew all her inheritance money and got them involved into debts that caused them to become homeless. It's a scheme her husband put all the money on and they lost everything. They begged to come live with us. I said yes, and they have taken over the living room ever since, causing a huge mess. Now a bit about Adam. So Adam is dealing with a number of health issues. His father's death literally ruined him, and very recently his condition required for him to be admitted to the hospital and getting rehab. He literally yelled out for his dad at the hospital. It's heartbreaking to see him like that. It's just an overall sad situation and whole family is praying for Adam to get better and be home soon. Lillian came to me yesterday and told me that her husband suggested that since Adam is going to be away from home for a while, then maybe I could let them temporarily move into his room. I was shocked, but I declined with a simple no. She ranted about how staying in the living room and the couch has damaged hers and her husband's health, and also lack of privacy pretty much ended any intimacy they had, and I should consider letting them take the room and promise that Adam won't find out or even noticed. I said no because there's stuff in there that Adam's dad bought him, and Adam wouldn't want it touched. She got upset and called her husband to come talk some sense into me. He went on about how Lillian is as much my daughter as Adam is my son, and said that it wasn't like they were moving in permanently, but I still refused, and the three of us started arguing. Lillian teared up and said that I was stubborn and cold towards her, but I said it wasn't my fault her husband decided to throw away her inheritance money and caused them to be in this situation. She stormed out of my room and her husband followed to comfort her. They both haven't been talking to me or even asked how Adam is doing. Am I being stubborn for saying his room is off limits, or are they being unreasonable? Now for the comments. WTF? You need to make them move out, OP. I can't imagine them being there is in any way having a positive effect on your mental health, or your son's. Evict them. Do it today rather than tomorrow because they will take over Adam's room the moment you're out to get groceries. And they will invade its privacy and safe space and cause harm that cannot be undone. If you don't want to leave them high and dry, pay for a motel for a week. But you need to realize that their bad decision-making will not stop at blowing all of the money, husband, and staying with the idiot that blew all her money, daughter. Not day-hole. Honestly, you've been more than generous letting two adults move in with you in the first place. You need to lock Adam's room to keep them out though, since it sounds like they both think rules don't apply to them. I agree. I'm sure them being there isn't going to help Adam's recovery. Yes, Lillian is your daughter too, but she's an adult and she's married. You are no longer responsible or required to keep a roof over her head. Your son is a minor, and as such, you have certain responsibilities towards him that you don't have for your adult daughter. Your daughter has had 2 months to get back on her feet. Perhaps they need to be getting a couple of extra jobs to get the funds together to get an apartment if they don't like where they're currently living. But you shouldn't have to pack up your son's stuff while he's in the hospital, so that they can have more space. If they want more space, then you need to get off their butts and get their own place again. Or maybe they can go live with his parents. Not stay home. Yes, don't let them get any more comfortable than they already are, or they'll never leave. She's your daughter and she was given her inheritance and blew it. I'll bet she had a bedroom in your house when she was 17. Your son deserves to have his own space now too. Not day home. Last story is titled, Am I the a-hole for throwing a family into the street? Okay, so it sounds worse than it is, I think. My wife and I purchased a home back in August from a family who was waiting for the construction on their own home to be completed. We agreed to close at the end of December, but further agreed to give them a grace period of up to 3 months to end of March if their construction was delayed past the expected completion date. They repeatedly told us they didn't expect any excess delays and would be trying to move out of the house as soon as possible. In November, the seller informed us that they were going to need to take the full 3-month grace period, as their construction had gotten more delayed than expected. We grumbled at the time but accepted this, since it was in the contract and was their right to take it. In the meantime, my wife and I have been living in an apartment my parents own, waiting to move into our new home. My parents bought a place in our city so they could spend more time closer to us and to our child who is their first grandchild, born 10 months ago. My parents only plan on moving here for an extended period starting in September of this year. The apartment we're in is pretty small. It is not really suitable for a baby, especially one who is right on the cusp of walking. We are very eager at this point to move into the new place and make sure it has sufficient amenities for the baby as well as for us. In order to get things ready as soon as possible, my wife has been working to secure a contractor for a renovation of our new home, which is estimated to take up to a month. We have already paid a down payment to the contractor to book him for April of this year. So you can imagine our surprise when the seller called up about a week ago and offered to pay rent for us to extend the grace period an extra 6 weeks. We didn't really want to delay further, so we told them that we were sticking to the terms of our contract. and that they had to give us the keys and remove all of their property from the premises by the end of March. Today they called again and this time begged to let them stay for an extra month until the beginning of May. They said that they had nowhere to go. Her mother is going into surgery at the end of the month, and they don't have a place near where their daughter is supposed to go to school. We wanted to be reasonable, so we called our contractor to see if he could push off doing the work until May. But he is already booked and wouldn't be able to start the work until August. So we called them back and told them we wouldn't be able to help, and that they would have to make arrangements for themselves elsewhere. At this point, the wife of the couple started crying and saying we were basically throwing them out onto the street. We do have a safe, free place to stay, but we are already paying the mortgage on the house that they are currently living in. So Reddit, am I the a-hole for sticking to the terms of the contract and forcing them to leave the home? Not an a-hole. You are not an a-hole for holding them to the contractual agreement they signed when you bought the house. What they are dealing with is not wanting to be inconvenienced by storing their stuff and temporarily living in an Airbnb. You need a house to complete your planned renovations, and you can't delay that because that would then screw over your folks moving into their apartment where you are currently staying. And trust me, you want to have a buffer for your renovations as well. And consider this, they have 2 months ahead of them to figure out alternative housing. Staying in the house is just what's easiest for them. Exactly. Furthermore, since this is a done deal, have they blown the money from the sale? Clearly, they had some wealth if they were building a home and are paying off family medical bills simultaneously. I understand crap happens, but I highly doubt that they suddenly just broke the bank. Not a home. Good grief. Sorry to say this, but you may have to legally evict those folks. Would you actually have to evict rather than just make them leave? The new owners never rented to them, have never received money from them, and have a contract. If I bought something from you and didn't give it to you, that's theft. It would suck if they have to do that.
Update. Am I the a-hole for not dropping the charges against my terminally ill father after he attacked me for wanting to adopt my siblings? Original post. Both parents were abusive. I left home at 16. They later had 4 more kids. The youngest 3 are 8, 6, and 4 months old. My mom died weeks after the baby was born, and my dad quickly married his affair partner. After my mom died, I took care of the kids, visiting 3 times a day and buying their essentials, since they wouldn't even feed them and left them by themselves all the time. I asked for custody of the baby, and my dad agreed verbally, but never signed anything. CPS recently removed all 3 due to abuse and neglect, including my dad's 14-year-old stepson abusing my 8-year-old brother. My dad caught him, and instead of protecting my brother, he beat him brutally. I am fighting for custody, but CPS will not place them with me until I have my own place. I have been working multiple jobs, dog sitting, selling art, etc. to save for an apartment. My dad knows this. Before our next court date, he asked to meet. Instead, he attacked me, left bruises, and told me to stop fighting for custody. While I was with him, my car was broken into, 3 windows smashed, and a tire flattened. Police say it may be unrelated, but I believe he did it to put a strain on my finances and delay my move. I pressed charges. Now my stepmother and grandmother want me to drop them because he has BPD and is dying due to a degenerative disease. I told them I hope he dies. I told 2 of my close friends about this, and they both reacted the same way. They said he is my father and he is old, and that once I get the kids, I should cut communication, but drop the charges, as he would not survive in jail even a few months, and asked if I want to have that on my conscience. Am I the a-hole? Right now, I don't think I'll regret it, but I'm not sure if anger is clouding my judgment. Now for the top comments before reading the update. If he's young enough and strong enough to beat you, he is young enough and strong enough to face the consequences of his actions. Press charges. Restraining order. Look to see if there is anything CPS can do to help you get affordable housing. Whatever you do, do not take your car to an arranged location and do not go to an arranged location. Over the internet and recorded is fine. Thanks. What I was told by CPS is to get a place, and if I need help with rent, they'd help me, but not before. Also, if he should die, look into Social Security benefits for your siblings. If he held a job, there should be benefits for them outside of what CPS will help you with. Not the a-hole. He's an abusive pile of turd, BPD or not. He's neglected his kids, neglected a newborn for Pete's sake, rushed into a new marriage before the grass had grown on the grave, and I suspect this is not the first time he's put hands on you. If he won't last in jail, perhaps he shouldn't have been a freaking abusive monster. Perhaps he shouldn't have attacked you. Perhaps he shouldn't have vandalized your car. Your close friends don't understand, because I suspect they have a less damaging or dangerous relationship with their kith and kin. 100% not the a-hole here. He has to face consequences for his actions. You're doing the right thing. You're done. And you are doing a righteous thing in trying to help your siblings. Not the a-hole. Press charges. Get a restraining order. If you can't get your siblings, then keep visiting them if they end up in foster care until you're able. Your dad's an animal. He doesn't deserve pity. Thank you. Doing all I can to get them back. Hurts me so much because the 8-year-old has trouble sleeping due to all the trauma and tells me how much he needs me. Now for the update. Things have gotten messier. I was made aware that my father was let out on bail and he supposedly tried to harm himself. He's still in the hospital. He's supposed to attend anger management classes, but lacks the will to live. He's reportedly super depressed and sorry about his actions because apparently he can't live without my siblings. My grandma, Dad's mom, left me a few messages saying I was a monster and lacked empathy for a sick man, and that regardless, he was my father and gave me life, so I should respect him and not ruin his life. I was also told it was my fault he harmed himself. Honestly, I don't even think it's true. I was also informed that my grandma will be petitioning for custody and later for adoption of the kids unless I drop the charges. My grandma is as bad as my dad. She has anger issues and has BPD too. I know she doesn't want the kids and will only fight for custody so I can't get them. My aunt, Mom's sister, who's currently fostering the kids, has been receiving threatening and stalker-like messages from an unknown sender. We went to the police, but there's not much they can do since we don't know who it is. We told them who we suspect, but they just said to tell the person to stop. It feels like they'll only take it seriously if something actually happens. Initially, she did not want to take in the kids because she said she didn't want the drama and that my father is dangerous and problematic, so she wanted to stay out of it. But I convinced her. She's told me she doesn't want problems or to risk her safety, which I understand. At first, she agreed to look after them until I got the housing situation in order, but now she's saying that if things continue like this, she'll have to let the kids go. Coincidentally, this happens when my grandma suddenly decides she wants the kids too. I asked my lawyer, and he said that if my aunt steps down and I don't have stable housing yet, they'd go to my grandma's, so I'm a bit worried. I need about $1,350 more. With my car getting broken into and bills, I'd say it will take me close to 3 more weeks to get the money. Anyway, thanks for the support. We have an advisory hearing this Thursday and I know my grandma will be there. I'll update depending on if things get worse. We told them who we suspect, but they just said to tell the person to stop. With stunning advice like this, who needs police protection, right? Police only do something when a corpse appears. And often only if that corpse is white and blonde. It sounds like your grandma is trying to guilt and scare you into giving up, but the fact that your aunt is already receiving threats shows how toxic this whole situation is. Make sure you and your aunt keep records of those messages and push the police if it escalates. You're doing the right thing by fighting for a safer environment for your siblings. They should also report these threats to the social worker overseeing the placement. We have, but the thing is, they are general threats, not really related to the kids. They're more directed toward my aunt, which makes me scared too if CPS decides that my aunt is not a safe place anymore because she has a stalker. The messages from your grandma about trying to leverage you to drop the charges are very relevant to your grandma's suitability. Ask the caseworker if there are any private or charity groups, like St. Vincent de Paul or the Salvation Army, in your area that might be able to help set you and the kids up. Women's shelters or DV groups might also be able to help or advise you. After all, it is domestic violence you're trying to get yourself and the kids away from. I wish you all good luck. Thank you. We'll keep trying. I've called some churches and they can provide a hotel room but not help with getting permanent housing. Also can't get Section 8 if the kids aren't in my custody. So it's a bit complicated. Next story. Am I the a-hole for saying no when my parents expected me to sacrifice for someone else again and saying they take advantage of me being mature? I'm 17 male and a pretty laid-back guy. I was always a good kid and my parents' oldest, so that meant they always treated me more like a mini-adult than one of the kids. There were comments from loads of family members and family friends about me being mature, and so mature for my age is the one I hear all the time, even now. For a while, I didn't mind, because I loved my family and I told myself they really loved me too, and that was all that mattered. But it started to hurt when they always expected me to go without or to give something up. Whenever money's tight, they spend less on me, to make sure they can still spend reasonably on my siblings. Last year, I got a $5 gift card for a candy store, and I was extremely limited in what I could get with that gift card. Another year, they got me sweatpants and a hoodie from the thrift store, and they forgot to make sure it was okay because there were crap stains inside and outside on the sweats. Another money, but not gift, example is when we eat out. My parents like to get us to take turns choosing where we go. Whenever money's tight, they'll let all my siblings have their turn and ask me to skip mine and skip eating out so none of my siblings feel like they missed out by waiting longer to let me have my turn. The other money thing is after school activities. If my parents want to save money, they ask me to skip for a few weeks so they don't have to pay for me. They never ask my siblings to do the same. Other times they do it is when we're running tight on time when we go somewhere, and my parents will ask to skip where I wanted to go so all my siblings have their chance. This happens when we have other kids with us too, and I'm always last and the first and only to sacrifice, going where I wanted to go. Other times, if there's a clash of events, they'll choose to skip mine to make time for others, be it my siblings, cousins, or someone else in the family. A good example of this is when I was younger, my mom insisted we should all learn an instrument, something she eventually got over with the cost. I was actually pretty decent at piano, so I was in a recital and the teacher was saying how important it was. But one of my siblings was asked to play their instrument for the choir, and my cousin had a football game. This cousin invited us personally, and my aunt, Dad's sister, expressed how important it was that as many show as possible. So Mom went to my siblings' choir, and Dad went to the football game. Nobody went to my recital. Taking turns on picking stuff happens for a few other things, like dinner on Fridays. Unless it's a birthday, then the birthday kid gets the choice regardless of turns, mostly, or where we go / what we do for family bonding time. And just like with ordering takeout, my turn gets skipped if other stuff comes up. If they have friends over, if we get busy, if siblings complain about waiting too long for their turn, or if they want to go somewhere really bad and whine about a different choice. The thing is, nobody ever sacrifices when there's somewhere I really want to go. I told my parents after last year's birthday that it hurt my feelings that it was always me who got less or sacrificed, and nobody ever offered to do that for me. I told them it made me feel like I didn't matter as much. And they were like, "No, you're our most giving and kindest kid, and you're a good son, brother, cousin, and stuff." I brought it up a couple of weeks later and I was hugged and told they loved me. And of course they didn't want me to feel that way. Then I tried a third time after a few more weeks, and my siblings whined over my choice of family time. I told my parents I was starting to think they weren't serious about not wanting me to feel less cared for. I think I tried 3 more times with no results. I talked to my siblings too and got nowhere with them, which wasn't a huge surprise. So last time one of those situations came up where I was expected to be passed over, I said no when my parents asked if that was okay with me. They were so sure of my yes, it didn't register with them at first, and then it did, and I was asked why I was being difficult. Why was it such a problem this time? And to remember, my siblings are younger. They said I'm so mature, so they know I understand, and I said they take advantage of that mature stuff, and I'm tired of feeling hurt when they pass over me all the time. They couldn't believe I'd accuse them of that. But am I wrong? Things have been tense since, and by not taking back my no, I pissed off my whole family, including extended family. Now for the comments. Just stop engaging. Don't go to family bonding events. Don't go out for dinner. Spend your time doing what you want and start giving them back the energy they give you. They're used to you making them feel comfortable in their mistreatment by rolling over. Make it uncomfortable for them. Make them feel guilty. They should. Tell them you're putting yourself first because no one else does. Not the a-hole. And the parents will wonder why OP doesn't go out of his way to help or keep in contact later in life, or put in any real effort. They're already wondering why I'm not rushing to apologize, but I feel like I need to speak up now, or this will just keep happening until I no longer want to talk to or see them again. Do not apologize. You're not being difficult. They just don't like the fact that you're sick of being the doormat. $5, really? That's almost worse than nothing. Even the guy in the store did a double take when he saw the amount on the card. Last story. Am I the a-hole for laughing when my stepmother was crying over my father cheating on her? Pretty recently, my stepmother found out that my father had cheated on her a ton throughout their relationship. He fathered 2 kids with other women since they were married, and they have 4 kids together who are all really young. There were a bunch of tears in the first couple of weeks, and since then the tears have lessened, but the fighting has gotten more intense. Then she invited her sisters over a few days ago. They were talking about it, and she kept asking me, 17 female, to join them, but I ignored her. Then she started crying about how humiliated and disrespected she felt, and how she couldn't believe he was capable of doing that to someone he loves. I laughed, loud enough for my stepmother and her sisters to hear, and they started demanding I come in and take a look at her and see how easy it would be to laugh then. One of her sisters actually approached me and told me I should be helping my stepmother right now, not laughing. I told her I wasn't going to help someone I never liked or cared about. While one of her sisters was with me, the others were reassuring her that it'd be okay, and stuff like that. But she was getting more upset about the disrespect, and how their love was meant to be perfect, and the most special love of all time. So then her sister dragged me into the room they were in because I was kind of laughing again. She asked me how I could laugh at my stepmother's pain like that. I told them it was because I didn't care if she was in pain, and I thought she was a dumb broad anyway. They were all over me for being cruel and for disrespecting the only mother I ever knew like that. I told them to shut the heck up, and that was exactly why I felt no sympathy for her. I told them I had a mom for 5 years, and as soon as she died, Dad went out and replaced her, and they tried everything to make me replace her too. I said he doesn't care about the women he's married to, and he disrespected my mom long before he disrespected my stepmother. She told me that wasn't fair and that it was different. I asked her how she'd like to die and leave her very young kids without her, and months later they're being told a better mom is coming along. She told me my mom had been a really poor mom too, and that my mom was in no way perfect, and I asked her if she thought she was. And did she ever think he was just a user, and he didn't want to raise me so he bad-mouthed mom to her? Then I told her I might have been a little girl when she came into my life, but I would always despise her for constantly talking like she was better than my real mom. And I said all her talk over the years about their love being special, and the true love was all BS, just like it was when my parents were married. At that point, they started to gang up on me again, and my stepmother started crying again, so I left. But I was smirking, and they were all really pissed off at me because they said I was basically laughing at her again, and it was so cruel. The stuff I said to her I stand by. Even my dad's extended family all said my mom was not who Dad painted her to be. And for a dad so great with a dead wife who did nothing but neglect me, he didn't know anything. He told my stepmother when they met that I was in the 2nd grade. I was 5. He also told her I had no allergies, when I do have allergies. He couldn't name my teacher, my allergist, or the medication I was on to help with some symptoms I got sometimes from my allergies. But maybe laughing at her did make me cruel. It's why I'm asking, am I the a-hole? So your dad told your stepmom that you were neglected by your bio mom, and she believed that. Did she take care of you, feed you, clothe you, etc.? Aside from repeating what your dad said about your bio mom, what exactly did she do to hurt you? Did she say daily, "I am so much better than your dead mom"? Thank you. I genuinely cannot believe some of the comments here. OP's dad is the a-hole without a doubt, but I can't really find much, if anything, that the stepmom did wrong, other than believe the guy. Everything that the OP says the stepmom did wrong seems to be more something that dad did wrong. And now this woman, who as far as I can tell did nothing wrong, has had her whole life blown up in front of her, and her stepdaughter is kicking her while she's down and calling her a dumb broad who deserved it. Unless I'm missing something major, OP should be ashamed of herself. She believed dad even when corrected, by my dad's own extended family no less. Even when faced with the fact he didn't know his own child had allergies, and then talked trash about my mom. They told her dad was lying and she didn't believe them. Or me because, yeah, I corrected her. She didn't even believe them when she knew he knew nothing about me when they met. She believed the guy who didn't know his own daughter had diagnosed allergies.